Welcome to the final module of Plant Magick. We are going to think about everything that we have just been dreaming and talking and looking at over the last part of the course and bring it into the present, into how we can take those lessons that nature teaches and incorporate them into our own lives, how we can be inspired by nature, how we can see the symbolism of nature, how we can integrate ritual of nature, how we can look back at the history of nature and find threads to our own ancestors, find threads into who we are now. And nature is not silent. It does not speak in human language, but it does communicate to us through rhythms and cycles and patterns and presence. And it teaches not through letters and doctrine, but through immersion, through our immersion, through sound and through the senses, through the rustle of wind, through the leaves, through the pull of the moon's tides, the slow push of seed through soil. All of these contain ancient truths. And to really live attuned to nature is to receive just so much information, a curriculum that's really older than civilization and more enduring than any institution. And in an age where we have this increasing disconnection with the living world, remembering what nature is teaching us, maybe one of the most vital acts of human reconnection with that world. In this module, we're really going to explore the profound and enduring lessons of nature and what the natural world offers us, lessons in interdependence, resilience, impermanence, humility, creativity, and sacredness. One of nature's most foundational teachings is that of interconnectedness. This idea that in the forest, every living organism is linked to a complex system of reciprocity, of mutual influence, trees communicating underground through the micro networks of mushrooms, the wood wide web, the sort of exchanging ideas, nutrients, signaling distress, sharing resources with the younger ailing trees. And then you have pollinators like bees and butterflies ensuring the fertility of the plants, which in turn provide food and shelter for other creatures. So even from the smallest soil microbe to the largest species, to the giant whale, nature really operates on a system of relationships. And even we are not an isolated entity, really understanding how we are also an ecosystem. We are bacteria, we are fungi, we are cells, all in continual dialogue. And nature shows us that there's no such thing as true independence, only interdependence. And this understanding calls for a reevaluation of what we think of as individualism and really pushes us towards a more collective responsibility and ecological empathy, interconnectedness, the web of life. Nature also is a teacher of resilience. Plants crack through pavement, forests regenerate after wildfire, coral reefs, though fragile, can regrow if given clean water and time. Evolution itself is nature's long story of adaptation and survival. So in every habitat, organisms adjust to shifting climates, changing food resources, new predators, and that capacity to change, to bend without breaking, is woven into the DNA of the living world. So resilience in nature is not just resistance to change, it's intelligent adaptation. So trees that survive storms are often those that yield in the wind. Rivers reroute themselves after landslides, animals migrate. Nature really teaches us not to cling to sameness, but to evolve, even in the face of uncertainty. So in doing so, it really offers this potent model for human endurance and flexibility in times of personal, culture, and planetary crisis. And I want to sort of take a moment here to acknowledge this idea of resistance in a personal way. I am recording this course in Los Angeles. As I mentioned earlier, we are in recovery of some of the worst wildfires in the history of this city, in the history of any city. We lost thousands of homes, and there was a lot of sadness and trauma, but at the same time, there was this incredible immediate resilience, this immediate adapting, not only by the people of LA, but by the nature. And what the wildfires of the winter produced is this spring that, after being in this city for 2 decades, that was the softest, most beautiful spring I'd ever seen here. And part of that had to do with the fact that the fires had charred the soil, that seeds that had not been above ground for decades were finally above ground. The winds blew them to different areas. So we had flowers that had not bloomed for a very long time. We had the ocean being able to clear itself and to be able to renew itself. We had the air, which was full of smoke and toxins, really kind of regenerating. This idea of regeneration, this idea of resilience, of adaptability, really was so on display in such a profound and sad and traumatic, but also beautiful way. And that brings me to this next lesson that nature teaches, and that's the lesson of impermanence. From falling leaves to melting glaciers, nature teaches us impermanence. Nothing is static. Everything rises, everything falls in cycles. The seasons, the phases of the moon, the lifespans of stars and cells. And in the forest, decay feeds new life. In the ocean, the death of one organism because sustenance for the other. The natural world does not mourn endings because it understands them as transitions. In human culture, particularly in the modern West, we often resist this truth. We pursue permanence. We want legacy, architecture, data, and that denial of death. But nature whispers a much deeper wisdom, which is that beauty lies in transient, that change is the only constant, and that letting go is as vital as holding on. So we have cherry blossoms falling, we have the sun setting, we have animals moving across the horizon from one place to another. And these patterns remind us to live in the present and to reframe endings as continuations, really, in another form. Nature also instills humility. It dwarfs us with its scale, it outlasts us with its patience. Mountains, oceans, desert, they're all reminders that human history is a blink in a geological eye, a geological time. The ancient redwoods that Whitman sang about of California have witnessed a millennia. The night sky contains stars that burned long before the first cities were built. At the same time, nature's intricacy invites real awe. So a single drop of water holds a universe of microorganisms. The design of a snowflake is never repeated. The precision of photosynthesis, the migration pattern of birds, the architecture of a honeycomb, all of these reveal a genius beyond human engineering. To be reminded of our integration with nature, but also our smallness, and also reminding us of our wonder and calling forth this reverence, this sacredness, and not dominion over, but respect for. And in doing so, this tempers our arrogance and offers really an antidote to our disrespect and this illusion of superiority when in fact we're totally connected with nature. And nature teaches also the practice of stillness and awareness. Unlike humans, nature is never distracted. Hawk flying is not worrying about tomorrow. A tree is not thinking about being elsewhere. Presence is the natural state of the wild. And this awareness, the total absorption of the moment in the moment, is something we can learn through stillness, particularly when meditating in stillness in the natural world. This awareness, this total absorption in the moment, is something we can learn through experiencing stillness, particularly in the natural world, to sit beside a stream, to walk a trail, to lie in the field under the stars. These are not idle acts. They're invitations to return to the present, to the now. In modern life, which is dominated by our screens and the speed, it really fractures our attention, and nature reorients it through quiet observation of birdsong or sunrise. We're really called back into our bodies, our breath, and our senses. And this attentiveness is a form of mindfulness. It's an organic meditation that we can all do. And it's a practice that requires no technique beyond really a willingness to notice. Nature also teaches us generosity and abundance, that there is enough. Nature gives. It provides food, water, medicine, air, shelter, inspiration. A single tree can host a dozen species. A patch of soil can feed a village. Plants convert sunlight into energy. Animals give birth to life. Clouds rain over parched lands. The principle of abundance governs almost all ecosystems. Through modern extraction, we've disrupted that. But nature's model is not one of hoarding, but of circulation, of interconnection. Fruit drops to nourish others, carcasses are cleaned by scavengers, everything becomes something else. There's no waste in the wild, only transformation. And this generosity calls into question our current economic paradigms, really based on scarcity and competition and greed. Nature teaches us that sufficiency, balance, and the dignity, that is enough. It encourages not greed, but stewardship. We are in abundance. We are in the garden. There is enough for everyone. Nature also, of course, is the original artist. It's a master of form and expression. It teaches us creativity. It teaches us how to think and expand. It creates endlessly. It's colors, textures, patterns, sounds, the symmetry of a sunflower, the iridescence of a butterfly wing, the spiral of a seashell. All of it displays a natural artistry that has inspired poets, painters, and architects for centuries across culture. Every culture has this deep relationship to the land and develops its own aesthetic language based on natural form. Creativity in nature is never frivolous. It's really essential. Flowers bloom in brilliant colors to attract pollinators. Birds sing to mate and defend territory. Camouflage, display, mimicry, these are all evolutionary art forms. And to create is to participate in life's unfolding. Nature teaches us that creativity is not a luxury. It's a survival strategy. It's a spiritual act. Artists throughout the centuries, Van Gogh, Monet, Georgia O'Keeffe, all of them are drawing their visions from nature. And in return, nature offers infinite variation and renewal. And another beautiful quote from Mary Oliver, instructions for living a life. She said, pay attention, be astonished, tell about it. And finally, one of the most beautiful things that nature teaches us is about reenchantment, about the sacred, about the God that exists all around us and the goddess, about Mother Earth and Father Sky. In every ancient culture, nature was regarded as sacred. Mountains were gods, rivers were ancestors, trees held spirits, and to walk in a forest or along a shoreline was really to enter a temple. Indigenous knowledge systems, animist cosmologies, earth-based religions, all of this have long recognized the earth as alive and conscious. And now we have modern science too, reaffirming the intelligence of plants, the sensitivity of animals, and all the intricate feedback systems of the biosphere. When we see nature as sacred, not a resource, but a relative, we're really transformed. Our choices shift, there's reverence, and it replaces exploitation. And the ecological crises that we face, really at the root, they're not only technological and political, they're spiritual. So there's this forgetting of our relationship with the sacredness to life and the sacredness of the land. And nature is there always to remind us of that sanctity, of that sacredness. And the lessons of the natural world are not new. They're old. They're old as the wind. They're ancient as stone. And what's changed is not nature's lessons, but it's our capacity or our willingness to hear those lessons, to hear that language. We live in this modern world with its virtual realities, with its concrete, but really we've just forgotten outside our door there is the earth, the great teacher, always ready to receive the student who returns with open eyes. And to walk again into the wild is really to re-engage with a conversation that's older than language. The forest asks us to slow down. The tides ask us to yield and return. The mountains ask us to endure. The stars remind us to dream. Nature does not offer escape. It offers perspective. It teaches us how to live, how to die, how to belong. In the words of the poet Wendell Berry, the earth is what we all have in common. Let us listen, let us learn, let us return.